you are trying to define a value into it, it is not possible because you cannot assign to uname because it is read-only property. Then what you have to do is you have to define, you have to initialize the value into this. Initialize value into this. And we can access and use that. So we can access and use that console.log. And here we can say hello, hello. So, and that username. So I can say hello and that username. So username. So uname. So obj dot uname. So we can access and use it. So that means the read-only will not allow to assign a value. Read-only requires initialization of the value. Initialization of the value will not allow the value. But important is whenever you are attending any interviews, regular question comes here is what is difference between const and read-only? Already we know that const is defined for variables and read-only is defined for properties. And already we know what is difference between a variable and a property. We discussed about those points I given in the note also, right? So difference between a property and a variable. And read-only is defined for properties and const is defined for variables, And read-only can be configured accessibility, public, private, or protected, whereas const is only within the block. It cannot be accessed outside the block. But initialization of value is mandatory for read-only members. The read-only members must be initialized with the value, So that is how we need to configure. And you cannot assign any value into them. It is prevented from assigning a new value into it. You cannot assign any new value into it, right? That's what actually the concept of read-only. So already we used read-only while working with interfaces. And this is another example for read-only, right? A basic point about how to define read-only. Another important, while designing the members, the properties in a class, we need to know about next option about accessors. So what are accessors? That means whenever we define a member, we can restrict the accessibility, a fine control over the member. Public, private, protected, they are code security. That means it secures how to give the access, whether in the class, outside the class or not. But accessors' responsibility is to provide an authorized access to any member. So what do you mean by authorized access to any member? We can define an authorized access to any member. Authorized access to any member means technically the member can change its behavior. That means it will allow to read, it will allow to set a value into it if the situation matches, if the condition matches. It will allow to do so if the condition and the situation matches. That is what actually the purpose of accessors. I will show you. Actually, Typescript supports getters and setters as a way of intercepting access to a member of a class. of a class, So actually accessors allow to define authorized access access to any member, authorized access to any member. So they give an authorized access to any member. That means accessors give a finer grained control over the member and its accessibility. So you can restrict, get and set of values according to the state of application, That means in this state you can only read, in another state you can read and write, in this state you cannot write. Such things we can manage by using the accessors. So we will see one simple example how we can handle the accessibility of any member, handle the accessibility of any member. Let's see one simple point. So suppose we are creating a simple example. I am declaring a variable let password as a string type, and initially the password is suppose admin123, that is the password. Okay, now I am creating, later we can put it in our applications, no need to worry about that. Just we are understanding what is the basic purpose of this. So here we are having a class, some product class. We are defining a product class. And in the product class, we are configuring a property. So a private property so that it is accessible within private. And we will give as a product name. So, and it is a string type. Okay. Now important is, so this is the property which needs to be restricted, Then I will just give a technical reference underscore. You can give underscore for variables and properties. Okay, so this is underscore product name. This is the property. And very important is, I don't want everyone to change the product name. I want only authorized people to change the product name. That means generally now product name can be changed at any situation. Product name can be defined, product name can be changed at any situation. Anybody can change it. We don't have a restriction. So that means anyone can access this product name. Anyone can set a value into that product name. But important is, if the password is entered and if the password is correct, then only I should allow to change the product name. That means, for example, you are designing some account details. Module. In the account details module, so a person can change all the details, but for changing specific details, means he can immediately change some date of birth. He can immediately change some values. But for changing some very private details, he will be asked